The convergence of our voices is the song of our beauty. Many voices will speak here, the song woven through diverse notes.
Welcome, Bonnie Fatio, who is the founder of IWL, which is, let me look, Inspired Women Lead. And so how long have you been doing this project?
Actually, I began this particular project in 2016, which means that we're now 8 years old, which is quite exciting. It's one of the highlights of my life I'm proudest of. And it's one of those highlights that's happened later in life.
Yes, as all kinds of good things do. And can you tell me about the organization and how it helps women?
Yes, of course. Inspired Women Lead actually grew out of a desire. Well, it grew out of a vision. And that is a vision of a world of peace, understanding, and collaboration, where each individual is valued and respected for their uniqueness. And just this firm belief that if this is going to happen, then we must have more women like you and me and the women listening to this program to step up into their leadership and at all levels and all sectors around the globe. And I had said this to a sea of women in Thailand, giving a speech. And I got home, and Gail, I sat back this one morning with my coffee and I said, Bonnie, you really meant that. So what are you going to do about it? And you know how the world, the universe, something happens when you know you're meant to be doing something. I don't know if you've had this experience, but it's very real. And so everything just kind of came into my path that I needed. A mastermind, a coach, all kinds of the right people to help me make this happen. And so in June 2016, I had 10 women from 9 countries to be mentored, because this is a cross-border, cross-cultural, cross-sector mentoring program for women to mentor each other to step into their greater leadership. And what's special about it is these are not women sitting around a table at the United Nations. These are women who are sitting in their countries or standing in their countries or lying in their countries, whatever. And the whole idea is I wanted to match women with women who, each woman, for instance, if you were in the program, and there is no age limit at the top end, there is at the bottom end.
So what's the age limit at the bottom end?
23.
Oh.
Because what we discovered was it's wonderful to be mentored at that age.
Yes.
However, the second half of the program is for you to mentor another woman. And so these younger women somehow weren't quite ripe enough with experience to be able to do that.
Yes.
But what's beautiful is you would be matched with a woman as different from you as possible. Probably somebody sitting in, I don't know, South Korea, it could even be Afghanistan. It could be an African country, part of South America or Europe. And this is done purposefully, because when we are with a woman who is so different from us, or anybody who's so different from us, we learn so much about ourselves. And as we are the mentee and are being asked questions to guide us in the mentoring process, we also start thinking at a deeper level. It's some kind of magic happens. That doesn't happen when you're looking in the mirror and mentoring yourself, which is what often happens when we seek a mentor. We want somebody like us who can pull us, maybe not quite challenge us in the same way, though.
Yeah.
So anyway, the first 6 months, you would be mentored by another woman, very different from you, twice a month for 45 minutes. So it's not a huge commitment, but it is a commitment.
Yes.
And then once a month, you would be on a group call where you have a facilitated discussion to interact with these women in other parts of the world and to be challenged in your thinking. And, you know, what's so beautiful, and I think this is something we gain with the wisdom of age, is also realizing how important it is to have this unconditional acceptance of other people. And it doesn't mean we need to agree. It simply means we're going to be completely present in the moment to be able to hear their story, to hear their side of an argument that you're not going to let be an argument. We could be talking politics, we could be talking religion, we could be talking almost any topic. And the person who thinks so differently from us is the one we really need to hear, even if it's only to solidify the fact that we want to keep the point of view we have for our own ethical reasons. At the same time, it means I'm also open to hear things differently and perhaps get a crack in my set opinion and to start thinking about things differently. So for the mentoring and for the group calls, that's very important. And what's interesting is the first 6 months, you are a mentee. And then the second 6 months, you are a mentor to yet again another woman who's very different from you. And at that point, then your mentoring, your group call becomes your mentor training. So what's unique about this program is, one, women are sitting in 86 countries in the world who have been through the program or are in the program. It is free, and it is free so that the woman who is moving mountains in maybe the slums of Kabura can mentor a woman who is in the corner office in corporate. And you don't need to be told the magic that happens when you're challenged in your thinking, just because you're working with somebody who has such a different life and vocabulary to just kind of spark new thoughts in your own thinking. And I'll tell you, and then I'm going to shut up for a minute. I'll tell you, I mean, I'm fine. I'm 81 years old, and I think I've discovered all my biases. I haven't. There's still more to learn.
Yeah, there always is, isn't it? Even when you think you've got it down, then you find something else. Yeah. Yeah, you
And
did
you have to
mention
be.
Afghanistan. Do you have women in Afghanistan?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
The first woman we had there was actually working with UNICEF. And now we actually have women who are true Afghans in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite exciting. Yes, and in Myanmar and I mean, in Nepal, you name it, and we.
Yeah.
probably have a woman there. And if we don't, we'd love to have you suggest one.
I don't think I know any, but maybe somebody else does. Yeah. And oh, you also started Age Esteem. And when was that?
Age Esteem, I actually started following my 60th birthday
Ah,
because I had this moment in time where, age never meant anything to me.
mhm.
And then one day, my husband had asked me in the morning, he says, well, what do you want to do for your 60th? And I said, well, we were both leaving rapidly. So I said, let's talk about this tonight. And I was coming home from work, and I live in Geneva, Switzerland, and
Mhm.
my office was where walking home, I'd walk along the lake, and this beautiful evening, I'm walking home and I'm thinking, yeah, what do I want to do for my, and all of a sudden it hit me, I was turning 60. I don't know why 60 should be any different from 50, 40, 80, 90, but somehow it is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of as if you crossed over to to being old or something. Yeah, pensions will begin and then that kind of stuff. And I suppose, maybe a couple hundred years ago, people didn't always make it to age 60.
A lot of people don't today, too, if we're
Yeah,
honest,
yeah, yeah.
especially in various parts of the world. But you're right. In fact, it was said, and I think something like the year 2000, there were more people. I think they said there were more people alive over the age of 60 in the world than had ever lived above that age before.
Ah,
I may have that wrong, but
yeah.
it was very astounding,
Mhm,
the way they presented it.
mhm. And
And I
and uh, and we're doing things, and we're not just sitting there in our rocking chairs.
and even if we are in a rocking chair, we're probably doing something very worthwhile.
Yes.
And I think it's an important part of the message with both Age Esteem and with Inspired Women Lead. We're never too old to have
Mhm.
an impact. We really, and the people who age the best, who are the happiest, who are the healthiest, are the ones that have a purpose. People like you. I mean, you're I know from just one communication from you that you have a grandchild that I'm sure keeps you
Three of
busy.
them.
Three of them. And you
Yes.
also have this podcast, which is phenomenal. And having a purpose, doing something that is greater than just doing something for ourselves, really is what keeps us young. And
Yeah.
when I say young, I don't want to be young. I just want to be me and healthy and happy and living the age I am.
Yes, yes. It's we don't need to pretend to be young or or say that there's something wrong with being old, because there really
Oh,
isn't.
and I think it's too bad. And in fact, if I have a message for women listening to this today, one, I love the fact you call this the crone, because if you look at the definition of crone, it is very, very negative.
Yes.
And yet, we need to take the negative. When I started Age Esteem, and I did this when nobody was talking about aging as something wonderful. It was
Mhm.
all, how to remain young, how to remain blah, blah. And that's not what it's about. And
No.
so I encourage people to say their age.
Mm.
I don't mind saying I'm 81 for
Yeah.
crying out loud. I'm still able to get around and 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 be, giving conferences around the world and starting new organizations. And that's why I wrote the book, Inspired. Um, I can't remember.
I just do.
Fire in Her Belly.
Oh yes, fire in her butt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fire in Her Belly,
Yeah.
which it is about inspired women lead, because I think one of the purposes, definitely in my life, and I think in yours too, is to inspire other women and men, but to inspire others to be able to step into their own excitement, their own passion, to,
Mhm.
to, to understand what this fire in their belly is. And, I talk about fire in the belly because that's when you get excited, it comes from inside. And
Yes.
when you look at the people who are truly beautiful, it comes from the inside. So, what is the fire in your belly? And then how can you let it loose? And to me, that's why I wrote A Fire in Her Belly, Transforming the World One Woman at a Time. It's to inspire other women to be able to do whatever it is they dream of. It's never too late.
No.
And the world needs us. It needs the perspective. It needs the dynamism that we bring with the years that we've lived,
Yeah.
because it does give us a different approach to life, a different perspective, a wisdom, if you wish.
Yes, it does. And that's to be celebrated. Um,
Indeed.
yeah, and have you got an example maybe of something that somebody has done through the program?
Oh, well, one, there are so many.
Mm,
One that I think is very kind of overwhelmingly impressive
yeah.
is one of the women who is in Kenya. She's part of the Maasai tribe,
Oh,
and she went through the feminine genital mutilation as a 12-year-old,
wow.
and then gave birth to three daughters. And I won't share the whole story. However, what's important is when she had three daughters, she said, I'm not going to allow them to go through this.
Hmm.
And there are other daughters out there as well. And what she did is she began working, entering into discussions with the chiefs, the elders of the tribe, the decision makers, and began a new rite. They now, instead of the FGM,
Hmm.
now they have a right for the young girls to move into their education, not just
Wow.
primary, but moving beyond that. And to
Hmm.
me, oh my goodness, you talk about transforming the world.
Yes.
And it's so impressive. And I want to insist on the fact that women, if you're listening to this today, please hear this. To transform the world, you do not need to go out and move mountains. If you do something where you live with
Mhm.
what you have that helps improve just one life, you're absolutely transforming the world.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, I mean, just stop for a moment, Gail, and think about the people who have done something, but you heard them speak or you saw them walk down the street and you said, I want to be like that.
Mhm.
And something in you changed. And that's what we're talking about, transforming the world one woman at a time. You don't need to move mountains. you can just move a bucket of sand and
Yes.
you made a difference.
And well, when you talk about the woman in Kenya, she has changed something that's been deeply ingrained in that culture. Um, and she's making something better.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that is what I call transformation.
Yes.
And of course it begins with us. I mean, I need to be looking at myself before I look at others, obviously.
Yeah.
And yet that's what makes the difference. Because you know, well, yes. No, I have a beautiful story and of a woman who worked in the Peace Corps and in a little village in a couple of days bus ride out of real population in
Mhm.
Brazil. She taught English there. And there was this little girl that would come every day and want to sweep out her hut for her because she just felt, maybe she'd take her back to America with her afterwards
Ah,
because this woman
yes.
was from the United States. And obviously, when this woman left the Peace Corps, she could not take the girl with her.
No.
However, she and her husband, 30 years later, returned to that village. Now, I get tears telling the story. It's so beautiful. And she'd let the village know before that she was coming. And they had this little celebration for them. And during the celebration, this just very altogether very stunning young woman walks up to the woman from the Peace Corps, and she says, "You probably don't recognize me, but I'm the little girl that used to sweep your hut." She said, "And you know, every day I watched you walk down the street. And I said, I'm going to walk like that one day because you
Ah.
walked with such confidence. You knew where you were going, even though you were new in the village. And she said, and so I do walk like that. And today
Mhm.
I'm the head of the school you taught in.
Wow.
You know,
That's
you
a
don't
really
know.
inspirational story, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I get chills. So
Ah,
it does not take much. And yet we each have to have the courage to simply begin to take that first step.
oh,
And
dear.
if anybody needs a push with that step, you're welcome to go to apply to Inspired Women Lead. It is a 12-month commitment.
Mhm.
It is a 12-month commitment. It doesn't cost financially, but it does cost in commitment for
Yes.
sure.
And I'm sure you gain a lot from it as well.
I, I can tell you, I have gained a lot, and I
Yes.
haven't gone through the program. I created it. What I'm hearing, and there are many, many stories of what the women have done in different parts of the world. The woman in South Korea who's been really striving to help women there step into more their own personality, so to
Mhm.
speak, and to liberation doesn't need to mean that you're even working, but that you see yourself in a confident way where you have
Mhm.
respect for yourself as you do for others,
Mhm.
which, yes.
Okay, so before we close here, is there something else you would like to say that we haven't talked about?
Oh, of course. No, I just feel it's so important to take a moment to stop, turn around, and actually look at what you've done in life.
Mm.
You know, we're so busy doing that sometimes we're only looking ahead. Or maybe what we look at in the past, it may bring some regrets. That's not what I'm saying to look at. I'm saying turn around and look at the path that you have forged, because you are the woman you are today, or the man you are today, because of that experience. The people who have crossed your paths, the efforts that you've made, the tears that you've shed, I mean, the joys that you've created and shared with others. And I think it's really important to stop, turn around, and look at where we have come from. And you know, I'm here and I'm effervescing, and I am the eternal optimist. I've had a broken back. It took me 10 years to have my child. I mean, life doesn't just happen on a
Mhm.
happy, you know, red carpet. And
Yeah.
yet, what happens in life, how we live it,
Yes.
depends on us. No matter what happens, we do have a choice.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying it's always an easy choice.
Yeah.
I
And
think
if
it's
we look,
important.
if we look back, we see, you know, there have been some good things, and we've been making a path for ourselves, and we need to see what that is, and to be happy about it, and not just, oh, everything's terrible, and you know.
Exactly. And to not be afraid because you're 60 or 50 or 80 or 90, to still dream
Mm.
and to realize there's so much we can still do. Eh, And so many of us have a dream within us, that fire in our belly that we haven't yet been able to realize. And what better time than now?
Yes.
I truly. And
Yeah.
and I hope my book will help some people. You're welcome to send me a mail. I I'd love to have, you know, people let me know that they're interested in being able to do something more with their lives.
Hmm.
It's just it's so important for us as we age,
Hmm.
because this is really the prime of the rest of our lives.
It is. Yes.
And
Yeah.
you are living proof. And I've loved listening to some of your podcasts, because it's such a variety. Um,
Yes.
the music, the stories, and it's beautiful. The
Yeah.
agriculture, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. There are just so many things and so many women doing interesting things that it's fun to showcase them.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah. So now I think it's time to say thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.